waiting so patiently for me to arrive. It's very nice to see all of you. I guess we're just kind of going to go to you guys to ask me some questions. I don't speak Romanian or Hungarian or any other language for that matter, so I do speak Yorkese though. So questions in Yorkese or English, and I'll respond in the same way. But it's really lovely to be here in Romania. Thank you for making me feel so welcome. Yeah, so who wants to ask the first question? Fire away. Just put your hand up and ask away. Let's go, Mel. It's always scary to go first. Yes.
First of all, what brings you to Romania?
I'm filming a documentary for British television about the Ovids family, who were a family of little people who lived before, during and after the war, during that period. And they used to be entertainers, so they used to travel around Eastern Europe entertaining musical instruments and also doing acting as well. And they were captured by the Nazis during the war and taken to Auschwitz, but indeed survived their horrendous ordeals there, and then went on to entertain once again after the war, moving to Israel. So that's why I'm here, to follow their story and to go to the place where they lived, and to follow their journey, which took them to Auschwitz, just to find out about them as performers, because, you know, I'm an actor, I'm also a little person, and so I feel, you know, I do share a certain amount in common with them, and also I think it's a very inspiring, you know, often quite tragic story to tell, but ultimately it does have a happy ending, which, you know, we all like a story with a happy ending, don't we?
Is this the first time you came to Romania?
It is, yes. I've never been to this country before. I've been to a lot of other places in the world, but nothing's ever brought me here. It's nice to be here. You know, we all have sort of preconceived ideas of what countries and places in the world are like, and you know, coming here, it's been lovely. It reminds me a little of England, actually. It's very green and hilly. The weather's a lot nicer than what it was yesterday. Now I feel like I'm in England because it's raining. It always does rain there. But it's really, really nice. And the people are so nice. You guys have made me feel so welcome here, and you're all so friendly, which is really lovely. And also what I like about some of the more rural areas is the simplicity of life. You know, everything, certainly in my life, is quite hectic, and you know, there's always some sort of technology involved somehow. But it's nice to go to a village and see people, you know, collecting vegetables on a horse-drawn cart and taking them home to cook them, and it feels there's something quite simple but quite refreshing about some people's lives here. So I've enjoyed seeing that as well.
We know that Johnny wrote you on Facebook and invited you here. Did you think a lot before you came here?
No, not at all. I mean, it's a pleasure to be here, honestly, and you know, to experience new places and meet new people. And
how did you find the idea of doing this movie here?
Well, I've been interested in the Ovids family for a number of years now, and really wanted to find out more about them and what they used to do, and so this was the place to do it. I mean, this is where they lived and worked. So you really have to get there and get involved to find out more. And you know, we can read a certain amount in books and on the internet, but coming here really gives me a much more full picture of them and their story. Visiting the places I've been to hotels and venues where they've played in the past, and I've been to the site of their house, which sadly isn't there anymore, and we'll go on to visit the railway station that they started their journey from to Auschwitz. So it's really fascinating and you know, interesting to see the places that I've only read about before. Yes, sir.
What role did you play in Star Wars?
In Star Wars, I played Wicket the Ewok. So if you remember the film, there was a point when Princess Leia has been, she's crashed on a speeder bike and is laying unconscious, and a little Ewok comes along and discovers her. And at first is quite afraid, but then they soon become firm friends after that. So that was my first role when I was just 11 years old. How old are you?
I'm 11 too.
You're 11, so you can imagine now what it's like to be your age and be in a Star Wars film. I mean, it was an amazing opportunity. And I was so excited because I was already a fan of Star Wars, having seen Star Wars and The Empire Strikes Back. So to be in a Star Wars movie was amazing. And when I went onto the film set for the first time, I didn't see Harrison Ford and Mark Hamill and Carrie Fisher, the actors. I just saw the characters. To me, he was always Han Solo, and she was also always Princess Leia. Yeah, it was an amazing experience, one I'll never forget, and started my acting career. You know, without that film, I wouldn't be here talking to you. You know, it was as simple as that. Had I not done that film,
I think it was a real honor for you.
it was a real honour. You're absolutely right. It was a real honour. Very well put. But I've also been in Star Wars Episode 1 as well. I played a few different characters in that film as well. Thanks for your question.
Could you ask your question again, please?
Which one?
The first question, what role did you play?
What role did you play in Star Wars?
Sorry, what? If you ask it to Warwick,
I won't
like,
answer.
just like you did before.
What role did you play in Star Wars?
Very good. See, that was called take two in the business. That's what you do when you're an actor, you keep doing the same thing over and over again. But very good, well done.
Who discovered you and your talent?
What discovered my talent? Well, actually, you know, and this is quite ironic, we're sitting in a radio station now, but my opportunity came via the radio. My grandmother was listening to a radio station in London, and they put out an announcement saying that Lucasfilm, who makes Star Wars, were looking for short people to be in the next Star Wars film they were doing. And my grandmother told my mum about this announcement because she knew that I loved Star Wars. And my mum phoned up the studios and they said, oh, you're too late. We had so many people call in that we don't need anyone else. And I don't know what my mum said, whether she offered them cash, I don't know, but they said, all right, well, don't worry, bring Warwick in. We'd love to meet him. And so I just went up to the studios and I didn't have to meet the director. I didn't have to meet George Lucas, anybody important. I simply met with a production assistant who said to me, do you like Star Wars? And I said, yeah, I love it. And she said, would you want to play an Ewok? And I said, what's one of those? And she said, well, you'll find out because you're going to go down to the costume department and get measured up. And that was it. That was my big break, I suppose, into this business. So I had my grandmother to thank and also radio.
And after years, Harry Potter for you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really thrilled to have been involved with those films. I mean, it was a terrific opportunity, and yeah, little did I know when we did the first film that I was going to be involved with 8 Harry Potter films altogether, playing a variety of different characters, from Professor Flitwick, who taught charms. You remember the Wingardium Leviosa, and then of course the choir conductor, who later on became Professor Flitwick. Is a bit of a complicated story, that one. And then, of course, in the last 2 films, Griphook, the Goblin, which he was a fun character to play because he was, you know, very untrustworthy. And when you're an actor, it's lovely to play a villain, somebody who's a bit meaner. They're always the most fun parts to play.
What kind of feeling did you have watching your first film you played in?
It was exciting, actually. It's weird, when you first watch films that you've been in, all you see is the bits that are missing. So the bits that they cut out, you kind of always thinking, well, where was that bit, where was that bit? But that's the way the films are made, you know, they film so much more than they ever need and then cut most of it out to make a really concise, condensed version that hopefully is the most entertaining version as well.
So it's more interesting to watch a movie and a film as an actor?
Yeah, as an actor you can never quite look at a film in the same way again because you see, you know how everything's done, you know all the secrets, and so you sort of watch it through a very critical eye, and you're always analysing performance and camera work and lighting and all of those things at the same time.
I was thinking you could ask them like they used to say,
Oh yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So you've asked me a few questions. I've just got one question for you that will help me out with my research here. Can anybody tell me anything about the Ovitz family at all? What do you know of them? What do you know of their relatives, perhaps? I mean, do you know anything about them? Any stories? No, you see, I thought these guys would be hugely well known in this area, and there'd be all sorts of stories, but people know very little about them. People here, I mean, I was at a school yesterday, and the children knew more about the legend of a giant that lived 1,000 years ago than they do about the Ovitz family, who lived less than 100 years ago. So nobody knows anything about them at all. Did you know, have you heard the name before? Yeah, but you didn't know anyone? No. It's fascinating. Well, that's my question done. You've disappointed me, to be honest. I've answered all your questions. If you don't want to answer mine, that's fine.
Do you want to translate that, Johnny? Maybe.
Oh yeah, maybe that's the key to this. Ask me which language, to pick a language. Russian, please.
Well, translate what?
Just ask them, does anyone have any information about the Ovitz family? Anything?
Ok, întrebarea era dacă careva dintre voi cunoaște ceva despre familia Ovitz din Rozavlea, Tificii din Rozavlea și... Știe cineva?
That didn't work on it.
Who performed, who sing, and
I told you that bit already, so that's cheating.
no, but that
No.
we know about them.
Okay. Cool.
They were Jewish. They were deported in
Yeah.
Auschwitz.
Okay, very
Some
good.
of them
It's
died
sad, you
there.
know, because there's no recordings of them performing. You know, me and Johnny were talking last night. It would be lovely to have been able to hear them singing or acting or playing their instruments, but there are no known recordings. Well, there are known recordings, but nobody can find them of these performances, which would have been good to hear. Cool. I think I've got time for a couple more questions.
Yes, related to these documentaries, why do you think that films inspired by a real story are more interesting for people?
That's a really good question, because we all enjoy watching films that were inspired by real events or actually recreate real events. I don't know why that is, though. I think this is a really interesting story to tell. I think it's inspiring. I think it's moving. I mean, it has all the elements of a great film drama, doesn't it? But it's a real life story. It's a story of survival. It's a story of people sticking together through the absolute worst conditions and things imaginable, but coming out of that, in one piece and stronger, and then to go on to continue what they did before their horrendous ordeal in Auschwitz. That's an amazing story of survival and of tenacity and human spirit, really. And I think we all connect with those values and those feelings, don't we? So I think that's why those stories always work very well, and indeed why this story is so worth telling. Cool. Okay, so this is probably the last question now, but it's got to be a good one.
I have one more question.
You have a good question.
Does your everyday image coincide with the characters you play in movies?
I'm nothing like any of the characters I've ever played, I don't think. Although, as an actor, you always draw upon something inside you, a little piece of you, to form the basis, the foundation for the character. So, be it an Ewok or Professor Flitwick or the Leprechaun or even Griphook, there's a little bit of me there inside, and then you sort of build upon that, and you build a character that is nothing like you in the end. So I don't think I'm really like any of the characters I play. Even Willow, he was a sorcerer, father of 2 children. I'm a dad now, but yeah, it's easier actually to play characters that are less like yourself as an actor. I prefer to play characters that are extreme. So, the ones that have lots of prosthetic makeup, where I don't look like me, I change my voice, I change the way I walk. Because acting's not just about sort of doing lines, it's about totally transforming yourself into another character. And, they're the most fun. And it's great when an audience will say, oh, I didn't realise you were in that film. Not because you've got a small part, but because they didn't really recognise your voice or the way that you were walking or anything else. It's about building that whole character and not just relying on great makeup or good dialogue. Thank
I've
you.
got a question.
Oh, you have. I'm going to let you answer your question, even though I'm
Have
going to
you
get
made
told off.
any friends when filming Harry Potter?
Yeah, you always make friends when you work on a film. And so I'm good friends with all of the cast and the crew from the film, because you work together for a very long time and you go through, you know, quite an adventure, you know, in making a film. Because, you know, people have this idea that Hollywood's very glamorous and it's all about red carpets and parties and champagne. Well, that's a very small percentage of what I do. Most of it is, you know, working very hard, very long hours, and so, you know, we all work together very closely and do become friends. And so yeah, I can count, you know, Harry, Ron, and Hermione amongst others as friends now, which is nice. And whenever we see each other, we often talk about the days of filming the Harry Potter series of films, and have very fond memories of doing that, which is really nice. Are you a fan of Harry Potter?
Yes.
That's fantastic. Do you have a favourite film? No.
And the Deathly Hallows.
Deathly Hallows, favourite character in the films? Which one? Careful when you answer this, pardon?
Voldemort.
Oh, Voldemort. Okay, good. That's all right. Second favourite character?
Harry Potter.
Third favourite character?
That's it.
You're not doing very well. There's one beginning with G I think you're going to like, and one beginning with F. Don't like either of them. They're quite short. Professor, one of them was, little. You like him at all? No?
What?
You didn't like Professor Flitwick?
Oh, he died.
Oh, okay, yeah, as an afterthought. Good. Thank you very much indeed for your honesty there. Voldemort was a good character. People often ask, would I like to play another character in Harry Potter? Who would I have liked to have played? But I think Professor Snape's a really great character. He's pretty cool, isn't he? You don't know where you are with him. And so yeah, he's always got a good look as well, as all the black robes. Very, very imposing character. So yeah, I'd have liked to have played Snape if given the opportunity. But I'll tell you what, it's been really nice coming here today, chatting to all of you guys, and thanks for waiting patiently for me
We
earlier on.
have just one more request, me and my students.
Oh, yes.
We would like you, if you could play one of your characters for a moment.
Play one of my characters, okay. Well, since we've been talking about Harry Potter quite a lot, we could do a little charms class right here now, couldn't we? So, let's do that then. I'll actually talk a little bit about character as well. I'm going to stand up for this. Okay. Just move the chair back there. So yeah, when you play a character in a film, as I've said, it's not all about the lines or the voice. It's about much, much more than that. It's about the way the character walks, the way the character stands. So, for example, for Professor Flitwick, the version that you see in the first two films, he's quite an old man. He's a gnome-like wizard, as described in the book. So when I play the character, I sort of stoop a little bit. His knees are a bit old, so he can't quite straighten up his knees. He's a bit stooped over, and he walks in very little steps like that. So you have all that going on. You have that feeling. Then of course you get the makeup on, and he also he uses his hands a lot because he is a teacher and he's always explaining things, and so he gesticulates quite a lot. And then of course we've got the voice. And I haven't done this for years, so we've got to pitch it up a little bit. And so you have a voice that's a little bit like this, you see. And then you put all of the things together, and you have a character. Now, we're going to do charms class now. Do you all have your wands with you? I do hope so, yes? This is interactive, I'm real, so you can answer back. Yes, splendid. And you have been practicing the charm Wingardium Leviosa. Yes, so we're going to practice that now, and also we're going to combine that with the swish and flick. Okay, everyone take your wand, swish and flick. Again, swish and flick. Splendid. Now we combine that with the charm Wingardium Leviosa. Okay, so we'll put those two things together. Wingardium Leviosa. Come along, everyone. Wingardium Leviosa. Splendid. Yes, it's nice for you all joined in, but Miss Hermione Granger here has been the one who has been most successful. Well done. Splendid. So there you go. That's how you do that. So it's a matter of combining lots of different elements together: the performance, the body language, the movement, everything about the character. And once you've established that, it's very easy to kind of just slip in and out of that as soon as the director says action. But I'm afraid we've run out of time now, so I'm going to have to say cut and finish this off. But as I said, it's been a pleasure being here. Thank you very much, everyone, for having me in your country. And here today. Thank you.